What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Chris, and this is your weekly news recap. On this week's episode, we're going to go ahead and just talk about some new stuff that came out about Watch Dogs, showing off the multiplayer and some preview that the press was able to get. And we're also going to talk about a new interactive trailer that was put out about the Evolve game, where you play as a monster versus 4 hunters. So let's go ahead and jump right on into Watch Dogs. So Watch Dogs had some awesome videos that were available this week. They showed off their multiplayer, some of the different modes you can do, and they also allowed the press to do some preview stuff. So the video you're watching now is going to be their multiplayer previewer, and there's some really cool stuff that they had. They showed off how they seamlessly had it to where another player could hack into your game, a little bit of the profiler in the process of being able to see the different characters interact and stuff like that. And they do kind of a dual perspective, which I found really, really interesting. Some of the cool stuff that comes up is that they have some different tactics to hopefully find the other hacker. Once the guy realized he was being hacked, they shot his gun in the air to cause chaos, to see like which NPCs weren't acting like normal NPCs, which ones would be the hacker. And then also, I really enjoyed the fact that one of the articles I also read on this was that one of the people in the press, when they were testing out the hacking, not only did they hack somebody and win, but then that same guy did a revenge hack and came back and T-boned his car and filled him full of lead. So for me, the idea of being able to have a revenge hack was super cool idea. I really like a lot of what is in that. We also have, they also talked about how there's not only single player skill trees, but I believe they hinted at there being multiplayer skill trees. So there's going to be some cool interaction with developing not only your notoriety amongst other players, but also just being able to kind of fit what seems to be your play style, not only in single player, but in multiplayer. So that always seems really cool. They also showed off what they call the mobile companion app, where basically people who have like a tablet or have their phone can download this app and challenge people who have the full game to be able to try to get away from them. So what it was is that the mobile player was playing on a helicopter, or as a helicopter, and was able to, blow up steam pipes and do all the other kind of normal hacking stuff, but also control the police to try to basically stop the normal player who was going through a race. So it was kind of like a Need for Speed kind of race going on, except for obviously you had the hacking and it was via mobile. I still feel like the mobile integration into like modern video games seems a little bit gimmicky, but this is probably the best I've seen so far. I know that we had the other probably really big one that to be noted was, of course, Battlefield 4's integration with the Commander, but I always felt like there was never a real desire for the commander to actually succeed, or for the players to actually listen to the commander. The Battlefield's always been moving more and more and more towards an arcadey, more Call of Duty feel. And once they moved that away, there's really no point in having it. So it really neutered any real use that that app had with Battlefield, because there was no real team play. It was more of just individual stuff. I mean, people who played together did better, but in the end, it was never as strong as it had been in the past. And so maybe earlier on it would have been better. But nowadays it just feels kind of, until they can get that team-based atmosphere back, that app always felt just kind of stupid. I loved they later on showed off as well some of the team-based multiplayer that goes on in Watch Dogs, where basically they had to capture a file and decrypt it, and then certain things that affected multiplayer. So the fact that if you were closer to your teammates, then your decryption of the file would happen faster. If enemies got in range of you while you were decrypting the file, then it would stop it. And then if they stayed within a certain range, then they would eventually steal it. So it was a cool like back and forth. I could see like really good teams that were working together, having long like multiplayer engagement. So that seemed really interesting. It also seemed like it would be a nice fresh breakup from everything else that was going to be going on in the game. So I think that was really cool. I want to see more modes with that. I mean, obviously the game's not out yet, and I'm sure there's probably at least 1 or 2 more. But as the game goes on, I see that there being a lot of potential, obviously through DLC and a lot of other stuff, that if they add some like good different modes for this, so this could be a game that I know I'm already excited for. I probably am going to put, I mean, if things turn out well, 100 hours into. But if they really did some good DLCs, did some good mode stuff, I could really see this being a game that I can invest a ton of time in. The only other thing that we didn't get out of it is there was no footage for the free roam yet. We know that there's going to be technically a free roam online version of the city, so there can be basically to where you can roam around the normal city. I think people are saying that it's up to 8 players, counting yourself, so 7 other players in a city, and you can do all your normal missions. We didn't see any of that. I'm curious to see exactly how that turns out. I really want to have some good chance to have some co-op with some of my close friends that I like to play co-op with, so that's something I'm really excited about, but again, we didn't see a whole lot. If you want as well, Rev3 Games did a great review. Tara, one of the hosts, you can go ahead and find the link in there. She gives some good description. I don't necessarily, again, I didn't actually play the game, but I don't really feel like some of the criticism she had looks fair. It seems like she also didn't understand some of the morality stuff that was in the game, because she felt like some missions led you to be a little bit more illegal and some led you to be a little bit more on the side of legality. Seems interesting that she didn't already know this, considering that's kind of her job. Not trying to be insulting when I say that. I have the utmost respect for her, but it seems like that's kind of the point, is that some missions are going to lead you to want to lead you to do illegal activity, which doesn't necessarily equate morality, by the way. But just to kind of like, that's the whole point, is you have to decide. So I found it really interesting. Go ahead and look in the description down below, but let's go ahead and talk about Evolve. All right, so Evolve is, if you haven't already looked at it, it's actually, I believe it's multiplayer only for as far as I know, but basically you can either play one of 2 teams. You either play solo as this huge monster, or you play as a group of 4 hunters, and each one of the hunters has a different class. So you have a guy that has harpoons that you can use to slow the monster down. You have like a medic that has shields and heals. You have obviously your offensive kind of tankier character. So you have a team makeup that's meant to take down this monster. And then the monster is where the name Evolve comes from, is where they basically try to feast on different animals and stuff like that to get their armor up, and also to just get upgrade points and to develop themselves. So it seems like a really interesting concept. Now, so we saw this interactive trailer. Again, you can find the description in the description down below, a link to the video. It's interactive, so you can see all the different viewpoints they have a general overview. I believe they have one for the monster, and then they have one for all 4 of the players. So it's a 50-minute video, but it's the same match, just from different perspectives. The commentary on it was very solid, so if you have no understanding about the game, I think it should give you a really, really good glimpse at what you can expect from different matches. Some of the things that I got out of it was, I was actually really surprised at how hard both the monsters and the hunters were to kill. Some people were saying that like the hunters were too hard to kill, but I think that's kind of the point, is that you're solo, so it's really going to depend on team play, and the monster's going to want to try to do as much as he can to separate people out. And also the fact that the whole point is the hunters want to try to kill the monster early on, because as the monster eats more animals and hopefully incapacitates the players, they're going to level up, they're going to get new abilities, and their abilities that they had before are going to do more damage. So the entire point is, this was a pretty early on combat. So while it looked like they were hard to kill, in the end, it was also because of the fact that the monster wasn't a high level. So I think it's really interesting. I also found that the synergy that the hunters had very important and really, really cool. You see a lot of times that the monster is trying to, I think they called him Goliath. Goliath is trying to attack one guy, and he's being harpooned and being pulled back by one of the other players. And then the player that is getting struck is being either shielded or healed by the medic. So it's really interesting, the integration of having to work together. I found that absolutely awesome. Also, some little things that I found, I don't know if a whole lot of people noticed, but there's this really cool detailing that they use. They have a kind of like black and white or color, and it adds great character to the game, a really great look to it. There's this kind of point when like they're low on health, or when they're not in combat, that some of the environments around them lose color, and I thought that was really, really cool. Adds a little bit of like depth and just character to how you view the game. Again, the wide array of abilities that the hunters have seems really, really cool and just different based on the classes. So it looks like you're going to probably have to master more than just one class at a time. You're not obviously just going to always have to play the medic or always be able to play as I think they called specifically one guy the hunter, but he was, the guy that uses the harpoons like that. So you're not always going to be able to play as that one class. So I like the fact that maybe if you're set up with friends and you all kind of agree like which one's better or what. But I really enjoyed that. Overall, the game looks really, really cool. They have, interactive environments, wide array of different stuff. They have animals that attack the hunter as well. So there's a little bit of advantage the monster have. Seems very, very interesting. My only problem is it looks great, but I don't know until I play it how long it could hold my attention. It could be something that holds my attention for a couple of hours and I really like it, but it just kind of gets dull after a time. Or it could be one of those games that there's just something so awesome and just different in every single playthrough that I could be playing it for hours on end. I have no idea. Seems like one of those games I'm probably going to pick up, maybe even do some live streaming with when it finally comes out. I don't think there's a release date for that one yet, unlike Watch Dogs, which is coming out next month. So that's kind of what I think about Evolve. It looks like a really, really interesting game, but we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how it all turns out. All right, that wraps up this edition of your weekly news recap. Of course, you can always find again in the description down below the links to the different videos. One of the questions I wanted to leave you guys with is I'm really curious if you've played Elder Scrolls Online, what you think about the game. My friend's really trying to get me to play it with him because we used to play a lot of co-op games together, but lately we've been kind of going through a dry spell. And he wants me to play it with him, but I seem very hesitant. A lot of people are complaining about it. There seems to be a lot of bugs, a lot of glitches. And my biggest point that I'm curious about is if you're playing with friends, how fun is it when you quest? How fun is it when you get to group together? Is it infuriating? Do you have a total blast? I really want to know, and the more detailed answers, the better. And I would really appreciate that because it's just one of those things that I just don't want to pick up unless I feel like I'm absolutely going to have a great time with what little time I have to actually play games for fun nowadays. So thank you to all you guys that answered that question for me. Tell me what you guys think down below about the videos and my opinions on them. Hopefully you guys will enjoy. Until next time though, my name is Chris and I'll see you guys soon.